hello, hello.
Hello.
For the first time, welcome to...
It's the first time.
What's our podcast name? Finding Us, the podcast.
With Chad and Fallon.
Not the Finding Us podcast show, but Finding Us, the podcast.
With Chad and Fallon.
With Chad and Fallon. I forgot that little addition. So we are, as Fallon just said, Chad and Fallon Graham.
Hello, everyone.
We are married, before you ask.
Yes.
Yes. Some of you may know us by, some music videos that we do sometimes, little duets. And up until this point, so for a while, I had been, I was doing solo music videos, outside of Anthem Lights that a lot of you probably know better.
Does anybody know Anthem Lights?
That whole band of the, four guys and, three good looking ones, and there's me. I'm just kidding.
You are so good looking. Stop it.
Thanks.
Look at you. You're so cute in your beanie over there and your glasses. Oh, you look so
Thanks. I like it. You can keep doing that. Keep coming.
Bring it on.
This is why I married her. So
for positive affirmations.
Yes. Which we have learned is important in a marriage. Shocker. Affirmations, not all doom and gloom. All right, we're not going to get into that. So
it's too soon.
I was doing solo stuff, and a lot of you have seen that I threw my lovely wife in on some of them, and they were just Chad Graham featuring Fallon Graham. And finally, one day, I was just like, you know what? This needs to be an official thing. No more Chad Graham featuring Fallon Graham. So, if you haven't heard, we probably announced it by now somewhere, but we are now officially Finding Us band, duo, whatever you want to call it. That is our name.
That's us.
That's our name. That's our band name.
I'm so excited.
Our band name is the same thing as our podcast name. Mm-hmm. Isn't that brilliant?
It's brilliant.
So you got Finding Us, the podcast with Chad and Fallon, and then there's Finding Us, which is us as a duo.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about the name here in a minute, why we came to that, and kind of what our visions are with and for our music, our visions, and what we hope to, what we hope to do and reach and talk about, whatever the word I'm looking for is, in our podcast. But we are very, very excited either way about all the above.
Very excited.
And so the other announcement following that is we have a full-length album completed.
We do.
Of Chad and Fallon, Finding Us. It is called The Story of Us. A lot of us's.
There is a lot of
But
us.
the album is called The Story of Us.
Well, it's fitting.
Yeah. And we'll talk some about that too, and how that's going to tie into our podcast and all that fun stuff as we go forward. But yeah, so we're really excited. This is our first episode, and we wanted to kind of take this first episode and just kind of talk about what we're about, what we want to be about, what we want to talk about, and hopefully you guys will tune in more going forward as we go. So, on that note, Fallon, do you want to share with the peoples out there how we came about our name, Finding Us, and the meaning behind it and all that fun stuff? Because we're going to get that question a lot, so might as well hit that out from the beginning.
So we've been talking about doing this, like our band stuff, and really becoming a duo, and what that would look like for a year. This is, it's been a very long time that we've been talking about it. So it's kind of been like a slow progression of us and like, how is this going to look like? And so anyways, we have had several meetings. And anyways, we finally came to the place where like, okay, we had this vision. We had the vision actually for the album way before we had our name. I think we were even almost done with our album, like recording our album before we found our name. But we just knew. So for months we were like trying different names on and trying to come up with something unique. And if you don't know music or the music industry, it is really difficult to find a name that nobody nobody already has. Yeah, that's really important, because then, you could be ripping off. It's like a whole thing. And so
has to be legal.
It has to be legal.
Can't just throw out any
very
name.
Serious.
Yes.
So anyways, after a meeting with a friend, we had some conversation about what we wanted. And I think the biggest thing is we wanted our name to be very intentional. So some of the things that in that meeting
represent what we stand for and what our music going forward is going to stand for.
Yeah, our music and really us. I mean, there's so much, we could spend hours talking about the journey of us. But we're so layered. As human beings, we're layered, and our relationships were layered. And so we really wanted a name that was going to reflect that. We wanted our name to reflect growth. For several years, we've been in seasons of really pursuing growth and being better people and human beings. So we wanted that. We wanted our name to reflect the pursuit of mental and emotional health. I think that is really, really, really important.
Tell me why it's so important.
Well, I am currently getting a master's in marriage and family therapy. I'm going to be a counselor. So that, I'm very, very passionate about it. I think that, again, this is a whole nother podcast segment. But I think that our mental and emotional health is not talked about nearly enough in our society. Of course, physical health is, and there's so much advertising that goes around that. But, I feel like if I'm not healthy in my mind and in my emotions, then I'm not going to show up as the best person that I can be to myself or with other people. So anyways, we wanted our name to reflect that. We also are very adventurous. We have always, I more so sooner than Chad was really on board with, we need to travel. We need to have these experiences that on our deathbed, we're going to look back to and really think about the stories and talk to other people and each other about our adventures that we did, and experience. So that was a big thing. We wanted our name to really reflect our individual and marital journeys, which is kind of along the vein of growth. We really wanted our name to reflect transformation. I think that is I just love that word, transformation. It's just a great word. And I think finding us, that is very clear in suggesting like we are transforming, and I don't think that we will ever arrive at being transformed. I think it's always going to be something that happens. We also really, really wanted our listeners to see our name and feel invited to journey with us in finding who we are, on our path to discovery, and
join us as we find us together. Brilliant.
In our individual and marital lives, we wanted listeners to feel like they could join us in that, and also to encourage who is ever listening really to be able to hold and open the space for, well, what would it look like if I started this journey and this path to self-discovery? And a lot of people probably are already on that bandwagon. I know it's really big, but I think that there's a lot of people that are actually very scared to sit. I've been to sit and feel and to work through all the hard stuff. We really want, I think we really wanted our listeners to just feel encouraged in self-discovery and the pursuit of wholeness and what that looks like. And also want our listeners to feel supported and not alone. And I think that life can feel quite lonely sometimes. And
especially right now.
Especially in the quarantine.
This is quarantine time.
It is. But I think there's a lot of pros and cons to this moment. So that's kind of what I think about our name.
Yeah, that's great. And on that note, I know for me, why we're doing this podcast, for example, we wanted a way to, first off, pull back the curtain that like social media can portray us to be, you know.
Yeah.
Social media can obviously, like, we're posting, you know, most people are posting their highlights, you know, like
Yeah.
of the stuff that is the highlights of their life, where everything just
All
looks
the good.
amazing and all the good.
Right.
And you know, no one's posting pictures of them in a fight, you know, with their wife or with their husband, or
Right.
or screaming at their kids or something
Right.
like that, you know, along those lines.
Or in a state of anxiety and like, I'm about to have a panic attack, or I'm feeling really depressed today. Like,
Yeah.
nobody wants to talk about that.
Yeah. So all that to say, like, we want an opportunity to be able to pull back that social media curtain and really be real and be vulnerable with you guys, and really so you guys not only can know us better, but also know that if you're going through stuff, and most of us all are, whether you believe it or not, to be honest, and usually it's the ones that don't believe they're have anything wrong with them or have anything going on. They're the scariest, in my opinion. But
I was about to say, that's when it gets scary.
Those are the ones who, those are the scary ones.
That doesn't mean that it's hopeless.
No,
you know?
no. But anyways, and so we just wanted, you know, as we wanted to let you guys in on our journey, which it's been a journey, and we'll get into that.
To say the least.
I mean, we're here because quite frankly, we've been through fire, you know what I mean? And still through fire. Like,
yeah.
There's times where we see the light and the fire clears, and but you know, this
too shall pass.
It's been progress, not perfection, which is my 12-step program motto. It's progress, not perfection.
And this too shall pass.
And this too shall pass.
Holding both
and the
good
next
times.
right thing. Let's just say all the phrases.
All the
you know. So we just felt like it would be a really good, as we still continue to do this journey and do this path, not only in what we're learning and growing in as a marriage and as a married couple, which is a whole thing in itself, but individually, which is more important. The most important thing is us healing and growing as individuals, because, you know, our marriage, most marriages, like, it's much more difficult if you're both not actively growing and healing and just working on yourself, you know. So I just want to. So it's exciting to me, you know. A podcast is the best way I could think of to do that, you know, and let people in on that and let people be a part of this journey with us.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
The Finding Us podcast. During that little break, my wife was just looking at me, giggling, saying, "I like this. It's like we're like fully connecting, and it's like you're forced to connect with me."
Okay, I didn't
she
say that.
Say forced.
I
thought
this is like intentional time.
Yeah. So let's talk about the album.
Yay.
So I'll start on this. So we knew when we were talking about, you know, what is our first album? What kind of songs is our first album? Is it, you know, are we going to just do the most popular songs that are out there? Are we going to do, you know, worship? Like, are we doing hymns? Like, you know, what is a Christian album? What is it going to look like? And very quickly, we resonated to, well, I'll say we put out a song together called Dear God. That was, it was a Chad Graham featuring Fallon tune that did really well for us. And we just realized how quickly, first off, that people are connecting to this song. I mean, that song is such a vulnerable, real song. And we only did it, which honestly, it shocked me, because speaking musically and from a business standpoint, you know, business hat on music stuff, when I wanted to do Dear God, like, I knew, like, in my head, I was like, well, this isn't going to do well for us. Like, it's not a single, you know, it's a Hunter Hayes song. It's not a single. I mean, Hunter Hayes is huge. I don't mean it like that. But I just knew it wasn't going to be a single. It wasn't going to be some radio hit. It was way too vulnerable and real of a song for that. But I just decided that, I just really wanted to do it. It was a really just incredible song. And so I put it out there really expecting not much from it.
Why'd you choose that song?
Because it's just, man, the lyrics in that song are just so real. He just is, he just has to remind himself that God doesn't mess up or make mistakes. And even though things can feel incredibly difficult and hard, but I'm not going to get into the song yet. We're going to do that eventually, which again, coming up, we'll talk more about. But all I have to say, we put that song out and it resonated so better than anything I've done or we have done yet with people. The comments and the amount of people who viewed it, we were
great comments for those of you who commented. Oh my gosh, blowing our minds.
Yeah. So,
amazing.
We read a lot of it, and so that kind of sparked, okay, what would an album of songs like that look like, and that just quickly for us resonated in a, yes, that's what we have to do. So we went and found songs that, first off, they had to meet a couple things. They had to be real, vulnerable songs, they had to have some sort of message to them that would be able to relate to a lot of people and, beneath the surface kind of level, and then it had to also relate with us personally, with both of us or one of us. It had to be a song that we connected with on an emotional level, that it meant we just wanted to hear it just to encourage us or just remind us of something or whatever the topic is. Every song had to fit that. So it's a 12-song album. We called it The Story of Us because it is our story, essentially. I mean, again, every song connects with us. And so we did 12 songs, and it's going to be coming out soon. I don't have an official date at the moment, but I will probably in the next few days have an official date on that. And or actually by the time this podcast comes out, you'll know the official date. So go on our Facebook and socials, and I'm sure you'll see it there. But so we're so excited about this album. I mean, we've first of all, it's the first really full length album that I've even done as a solo outside of Anthem Lights. I mean, I've done full length albums before, but I kind of did them and released them as singles, and then one day I was like, okay, I'm going to make an album out of it. This one's the first one that all but 2 songs, 10 of the 12 songs are no one's heard yet. They're all going to be on this album, and it's me and you and just me and you. And I'm really excited about it. And so going forward with the album, and I'll let you speak more about the album in a second, but going forward, and also how we're tying the podcast into that, is we are going to start doing episodes when the album releases, where on every episode we're going to talk in depth about each song. Each song is going to have its own episode where we will talk about why this song relates to us, what it means to us, talk about, just everything the song relates to and is about. We are going to dive into here on the show, so you can really know how much meaning these songs have for us and why we did them. And so I'm really excited about that. But what do you think? Go ahead, talk about how
that makes me weepy.
Much the album makes you weepy.
It makes me weepy. It's just so powerful. The songs that we chose, I mean, when I say there was a lot of thought that went behind them, there really was, y'all. There were some heated discussions about some of these songs. It was I don't know.
Some come to Jesus marriage moments.
And they were all great. And all those moments, I mean, I feel here I go again, going into deep stuff. I'll
pause you real quick. I just want to tell real quick. The why this was, at times had some tension to the conversations is I went into this thing thinking, okay, I've been doing this for over a decade. She's just going to let me make all the decisions on the songs, and I will make all the decisions on who's singing where and all that stuff. And, I'm basically going to be doing my job, and she's just going to kind of come for the ride. One thing that I love and also struggle with my wife, I'm just kidding.
Is that I'm my own person.
Is that she is her own person, and she is not going to just be, told she can show up and told what to do. And so she needed to have her say, and she wanted to sign off on every song. And which, at the time I was like, I was just like, just let me do it. This is what I do best. But now at the end of it, I'm like, I'm so happy and thankful she did, because she has just as much passion behind every song as I did, and so so go ahead, continue.
Well, for me, I'll just do a little of my history. So this is my first album ever. And so, ever. And really, so I grew up singing all through high school. I did some singing in college, did some pageants. Those weren't my best days.
She was in the Miss Tennessee pageant, y'all. She was in the Miss Tennessee pageant.
Anyways, next. So so I really took a break from singing, and I met this cutie across the table. And he was, I was around when Anthem Lights was, even before Anthem Lights was a thing. Yeah. And so I got to watch all of the journeying, but really I took a back seat and I started to pursue my own things. I was born and raised in Nashville, so everybody in the mama sings here. And so it really at an
they don't just sing, they sing really well.
Really well.
Most likely your waiter
phenomenal.
Or barista is a better singer than you.
Yeah, it's incredible. And so from a very early age, I kind of learned if you don't have all the bells and whistles, you're not going to go very far. And if you don't have a lot of money, you're not going to go very far. So I started to pursue totally something different, like pre-med. I actually need to make money and get a job and get a good job. And anyway, so all that to say, I took a back seat, and it took some time, but we finally started singing together. Chad started to pursue solo music, and then we started to kind of talk what would it look like if you started singing with me, which was a very big deal. Let's be honest, I'm very insecure about my voice. I am not super awesome in my opinion, and I think each person is.
A lot of people here disagree with you, including myself.
Thank you. You're so sweet. But I think we are right. We are more critical on ourselves than really anybody else is. And anyway, so that's another segment. Anyways, so this album means a lot to me. When we started to talk about okay, this is not going to be featuring me anymore. This is going to be an us. This is going to be a duo. It became very clear that I wanted to step up and I wanted to work hard, and I was willing to do that. And if I'm going to be included, I feel like I need to have a say. So to continue with what I was saying earlier, the discussions were hard, but wow, the intimacy that grew from that, and it doesn't feel like it in the moment, but looking back, the intimacy that grew in those moments of conversation about disagreements, agreeing to disagree, and really being able to come to a resolve. And now listening to the songs on our album several times, and I could not be happier with what we invested. And kudos to Chad for, let's be honest, he worked way harder than I did. He did a lot of the arrangements and a lot of the awesome weaving in and out of vocals and some of the tracks you'll hear. He did an incredible job. You did great. So
thanks.
Yeah. So all that to say, we were very intentional about selecting the songs, and each song is deeply meaningful to both of us or one of us, either or in different ways. And the last thing I'll say is we truly have a heart and a very deep desire to be authentic, transparent, real. And really, I think this album shows us embracing our humanity and our flaws and all that comes with it. And I think that that's really beautiful and messy, which is #life.
Life.
Yeah.
So many us references. Makes me even happier about our name.
I know. It's so good. I'm so happy with it too. I hope everyone likes it.
I'm sure some people won't.
I'm sure. Because, that's okay. #life.
Yeah, thanks for sharing all of that.
Yeah, thanks for doing the album with me. I'm very excited.
Yeah, can't wait to do more.
Me too.
Hopefully people like it.
Hopefully.
And we'll want to do more.
We'll see.
If not, we'll be broke and never do music again.
Or we'll just keep going and get more broke. That didn't even make sense. Get more broke.
Get more broke.
Get more broke.
So let's again, this is an official first episode, but it's not going to look like the rest of the show will. So I want you to, I kind of dove into it on what I hope for the podcast when talking about the social media thing and wanting to look past what we see on the social media and all that stuff. What is your desire for the podcast? What do you want people? What do you want people to take away from listening to this show going forward?
There's so many. Well, I think that, so firstly, in our podcast, we're going to be sharing a lot of lifestyle stuff, a lot of previous travels that we've taken, a lot of future travels that are upcoming. And of course, I think it would just be right to share my opinions about food because I am a major foodie.
Food?
Yes. Like,
this girl can eat with the best of them, let me tell you.
Like because we're going to have an Instagram. And so especially on that, I think we're going to be posting a lot of different lifestyle things. But yeah, we're definitely going to talk about food.
All right.
Yes. We're going to talk about our music here. We're going to talk about why we chose the music we do. And really, we're going to talk about life. We're going to talk about real things that happen. We're going to talk about all the messy things, all the good things, and how to hold both. And just share our wealth of knowledge that we've gained through our experience. And yeah. So I guess we'll kind of get into our hope, but
I think it's, I want people to see the beauty in surrendering. You know what I mean? Like,
that's good.
I know for me, a lot of lessons learned is the whole concept of the more you surrender and let go, the more actual healing you actually do. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, like, they want to control more, and you want to, again, I'm getting into a whole rabbit hole here, but that's just a big thing for me and a big, I mentioned recovery and 12-step recovery. And, we're both in 12-step recovery programs. And I think everyone should be in a 12-step recovery program. If you ask me, I think it's an incredible process.
Bread. I mean,
not yet. I think all of us have addictions, and we'll go into that more, you know, but anyways. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump on your rabbit hole.
Jump on my rabbit hole.
I'm going to come down the rabbit hole with you.
It's just Easter, so I just rabbit it up.
I just want to add, like, when we use the language, when we say heal from, in my experience, it is very unlikely that we human beings escape this life without some form of trauma, whether that's little t trauma or big T trauma. And so when we say heal, that's what we're talking about. All of the little t traumas and big T traumas that we just kind of accumulate through life, and the things that you don't even think were a trauma, you can look back on and be like, wow, that was actually really traumatic. And I practice that in my relationships now because of this incident. And anyway, so there's my little 2 cents on your rabbit hole.
And the whole, whole concept of layers of shame, I mean, for me, like, a giant part of my intimacy disorder that I mentioned, is because of piles and piles of shame that have made me want to made me become somebody I'm not for the sake of survival. You know what I mean? For the sake of, like, as I've grown up, like, when people compliment me or on some way that I am or being or acting that isn't necessarily me, like, that became okay, people like that about me. So I'm going to build on that. You know what I mean? And apparently that's who I need to be to survive. Right. And so as I got older and grew up, like, I just kept feeding off of and figuring out, what what people like, you know what I mean? And then once I kind of kept hearing, got compliments or whatever, it just fed that more. And it made me even more so, want to be someone I'm not. And so over the past few years for me, it's been a lot of breaking that down, you know what I mean? And
false ego
and,
a lot
and
of the
finding
verbiage.
finding my inner child, who has just been tucked and gone away for a long time because it's scary, to be me and be real. So anyway, so that's a big part of our process and journey too. Continue.
That was beautiful. That was so beautiful.
We have, obviously, this episode, we're kind of jumping around all kinds of stuff. We're obviously loaded with stuff that we want to talk about.
Right.
Because we've been through our own journeys over the past 4 to 5 years where we have both been working really hard and we just have a lot that we want to talk about and share.
Well, and I think this is real. And the reality is this, like we said in our intro, like it's not going to be polished. And if you're looking for structure, we're structured people to an extent, but man, life is sometimes unstructured and unplanned and all the things. So.
AKA coronavirus.
Right.
AKA everyone buying toilet paper to feel some sort of control.
Yeah, we could spend all day on that. Anyways, so... Yeah, we are jumping around a lot, but I like it.
It's fine. We have a lot of stuff we want to talk about. And, I hope that this episode just kind of gives you, I think we're giving people a little bit of nuggets on like, we're going to dive into this eventually. We're going to dive into this eventually.
Nuggets of knowledge.
Exactly. Anyways, do you have more you want to say about that?
I've got like so many more.
Okay,
so
much more. Go ahead.
So much more. I really want, and I think we've talked about this before, but I really want this podcast to help those who are listening to not feel alone. And really what I mean by that is just those little moments of connection. Like, I've felt that way too. Or, I've struggled with that too. Or, I've wondered the same things. I've had the same questions. And just really, it's about normalizing our humanness and human being nature. And in the beginning, I said, we're so very layered and complex and multifaceted and all the things. I really want people to know that they're not alone and it's okay. Also, I think we kind of already touched on this too, but journeying, really want listeners to know that, to really feel like they're journeying with us. And we, in a way, even though we're not like talking directly, which we have platforms that we can do that through, but we're journeying through this beautiful and messy life together. No one's on a platform or special or whatever, like the highlight reel and the social media thing. Like we're humans. We're humans. Life is full of ups and downs. I want to talk about how we get through those ups and downs. I even think, that takes it a step further. And, like they struggle with that too or whatever, but really like giving tools to know how to navigate those times. I feel like that's my counselor wanting to come out and my experience and things that have really, really helped me. But really talk about specific tools to know how to navigate those times better and with more grace and a sense of peace. Let's see. Also want to inspire and encourage others to pursue self-discovery. We kind of talked about this too. And really, the big thing that keeps coming to mind is embrace the unknown. Every single day that we wake up is going to be unknown. Even if you have plans, those plans can go right out the window.
Into the unknown.
Yeah. There's so many lyrics from our songs coming to mind right now. It's amazing.
I won't sing it.
Yeah. And really, help others feel comfortable with pursuing self-discovery, embracing the unknown, and know that it's okay to feel. It's okay to have questions. It's okay to have doubts. Really, there is no right way to feel. There really is not a right way to feel. It's about feeling and moving through those feelings And yeah, I really just want others to feel like they have a community. And I think that, I know, like with my experience, that community is absolutely essential to get through life, especially for those who have experienced grief. I mean, immense grief. There's a quote that I wanted to share that is just amazing. There's actually two. But one is, if you are far away from yourself, how could you ever be close to another? And that is by, I'm sorry if I don't pronounce it right, but that is by Young Pueblo. And yeah, that's a great quote. And the second one is, you don't have to experience grief, but you can only avoid it by avoiding love. Love and grief are inextricably intertwined. And that's by David Kessler.
Nice.
Those two quotes are very inspiring and they're so good. Anyways, yeah, I want others to know that they're not alone, and just to encourage others to find community if you don't feel like you have that, because it is so, so very important.
As Brene Brown always says, we are wired for connection.
Wired for connection.
And I didn't believe that until like the last couple of years. But man, we are truly wired for connection. And I have learned that the hard way I'm 33 years old as of last week. And up until probably like 31, 32 years old, I'm still would fight that, but man, when I need connection, I need it. When I am not connecting, man, it's just everything comes out sideways or in some other way, and my unhealthy and character defects and addictions, and so I need connection. And that's what's such a huge thing about 12-step recovery program is the amount of men I have which this has also been a huge thing for me in the program is, before the program and before recovery, I only connected with other guys based off of our strengths. Like every guy friend I had, everything about my life, when I was only friends with people where we talk about we just connect through our strengths, and in the community and in my program, you suddenly learn and that we connect through our weaknesses, and that has been, the ego is just like, what? Like, why would I ever want to connect with someone about my weaknesses? But that has been the most healing thing about my program is connecting with men where, we see each other and it's not this, this is how successful I am, how good I am.
Look at that cool car.
How smart I am. I'm going to make fun of you, and whatever. Like it is about, hey, I struggled today, man. I had a hard day. Like that's, and just get down to the realness and then be able to not only be able to be open with other men about that for me, and share what's really going on and even to the stuff that's just going on in my head, you know what I mean? And to be so real about it with other guys, and then not only have the empathy and healing where you say that, and then I'm telling guys this who are just like, man, I get it. I completely understand. I have been there. That was me last week. I had the same thought,
Well, and I think it's this element of being known.
100%. Yeah.
It's being known. And that is so healing to know, like I've said, not being alone and being in community. And being, truly known, not surface level. Here it is. Here I am, ugly and all. And it's incredible to feel love and accepted despite all those things by people that understand.
Absolutely. And it's still it's still to this day, it'll be times where I'm just like, man, I can't tell anybody that. You know what I mean? They're going to think the worst of me. And you instantly just think that they're going to think the worst. But then what happens is you share that with somebody you trust and somebody who gets it and who can empathize with you, like the men in my program. And it's just words can't express how healing it is, and how all the tension you feel of bottling it up and not feeling like you, and the shame you carry over it, and guilt you carry over it, even if it's not something you did, it's just something that like is in your head, like, or whatever. But being able to share that with other men who get it is just like, I mean, it's everything. And it just goes back to the connection is everything. And I just want to encourage everyone, like, have people you trust out there who you feel safe to be able to connect on your weaknesses. You know what I mean?
And
like,
that could be a whole nother
I mean, again, we're just touching on all these different things that will eventually become episodes in themselves, because we can have a lot we can talk about with it.
Right.
But
beautiful. Well said.
Anything else about it?
No. I guess we just close with our hope in the podcast. I think for me, it's a lot of everything a little bit of everything I just said. I mean, the biggest thing is I care so much about people and life and what people are going through and experiencing, and like the real stuff, not like the glam of celebrity and just the stuff, especially that females can feel, like just the surface level stuff. I'm not about that. I'm a 4 on the Enneagram, if anyone knows about the Enneagram. So I really love vulnerability and authenticity. We can get into the Enneagram too on another podcast. There's so many things.
Oh yeah.
We could spend hours on that. But anyways, yeah, I just want people to feel known and loved.
Yeah. And I want to say too, like, there might be stuff I want to prep some people now to where they can be like, all right, this show isn't for me, and that's fine. That's great. It's great. If I just want to prep people, like, there might be times where you might feel in what we talk about and in our realness, where you might feel some sort of pull in you or feeling in you, and, where basically, like, it could be something where you feel where because of your spirituality or your faith or your own, whatever your perspective is, defensiveness or your perspective on life.
Yeah.
And like, we all see the world through our own lens.
Absolutely.
We all have our own worldview.
Yep.
Like me seeing a leaf blow across, our grass, like, I could view that completely differently than my wife.
Completely.
Like, just she could see something so different.
Right.
And so we're going to talk about things that, and a lot of what our work and our journey is understanding that and learning how different our perspectives are, which is another taking down the ego situation, because the ego just wants to be like, how does this person not see this the way I do? And I grew up in religious church culture, where that's how I grew up thinking, was my one denomination, my one Southern Baptist denomination, even though there's like 200,000 plus different denominations around the planet. But if anyone thinks differently about I think about my denomination, like I remember that pull that I always felt is just like, oh my gosh, they have it so wrong. I can't believe they believe this. Even when we're talking about reading the Bible and how differently so many cultures and people can read the same verse, you know what I mean?
So
but yet, so many of us like feel like that way. Like, if anyone else thinks differently than I believe and think about what I'm looking at and reading, and then again, a whole another topic and conversation.
Right.
All I have to say, I just want to prep people that, like, we're going to dig into stuff like that. I want to talk about stuff like that. And talk about it with the open mindset, and anything we talk about that, this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
And I could be completely wrong.
Right.
And that's okay. You know what I mean? You could completely disagree with me.
Right.
But the beauty and what I hope to form here and what I hope to make happen with the viewers is the concept and mindset of being able to hear somebody and it's something you disagree with,
right,
and be able to take that and hear it and actually listen and hear it, not listen to respond. There's a huge difference. You know what I mean?
Remain in a posture of curiosity.
Exactly. Which is so hard. I mean, I say that as somebody who has such a hard time with that.
Yeah.
Like,
Me too.
struggle.
Me
Like
too.
I forget that all the time, like all the time. Somebody will say something or telling me something that I just disagree with because of my own stuff from my own child, my own perspective and worldview. They'll say something that just gets me, like I get that feeling inside,
It's
and
icky.
all I want to do is, I want to say something back to them and own them in this conversation right now. And and so all I can think about now when I get that feeling is defensiveness and wanting to be right and not actually hearing anything they say to me. Because I'm so caught up in
your own stuff.
All right, this is how I'm going to respond. This is what I'm going to say.
Right.
And then when those conversations don't happen, I then am thinking about it weeks later, thinking about, man, I should have said this and I should have said that. And that's resentment. And that's, that's a whole nother episode. No. Anyway, so all I have to say, there'll be times where we might say something you might disagree with, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Like God loves you as much as he loves me, as much as he loves, I don't know who, like the murderer in prison. I don't know, like whoever, you know what I'm saying? Like all I have to say.
Well, I want to add something.
Yes. Add.
I just want to add the sense of if there are people who say, oh, this is not for me. Like, I respect that because every single person is on their own journey and they're in different phases and different seasons and different places in their own journey. And so if something we say, they're not welcoming today, they're not welcoming, but that could be a seed and that could be something that comes up in a year from now of like, oh, I remember, you know what I mean? Like to each their own, everybody's on their own journey. And I just wanted to speak that into existence of, just the utmost respect for each person, because I believe that every person has their own higher power, their own God, whoever that may be, whatever that may look like to each individual, and let it go. Just let it go.
Just let it go.
And I want to add too, like the perceptions thing. I had no idea that anybody looked or viewed this world out of their own lens until about 3 years ago. And I remember the first time I heard that and being like, what? Like, you're kidding. Like, there is no, really? Like, everybody doesn't think like me, which is so naive. I'm a little young, but, but that is so interesting. I mean, just self-love, like even just looking back and the progress that I've made in that, but it is so true. I mean, my experiences are so unique to me. No one else has experienced the exact things. And I'm talking from like birth to my age of 28. Like no one has experienced or gone through the things that I have gone through. And also no one has been able to filter those experiences or those situations that I've been through like me, because my brain is mine. Like it's formed from genetics, from, all the things, right? Like it's just amazing. Really grasping and accepting that each person has their own worldview and it is going to be so different. And because of those experiences, throw in trauma, family of origin stuff, could spend all day on that. Like throw in all of this stuff, all the choices, decisions that we've made. It, like Chad said, like a leaf blowing on the grass across the grass. I could pick up, like my eyes could pick up on subtle things about that leaf that are so unique to me because of my experiences that he may be looking at it a completely different way. And that is phenomenal. That is phenomenal.
If we all saw things the same way, marriage would be easy. Let's be real. Like,
life would be easy.
Life would be easy.
It would be cookie cutter. It would be black and white, and life is not black and white. And in my recovery program, that is something that I come to terms with on a daily basis. I have all or nothing thinking. I have black or white thinking. And man, like there is so much gray area. I wish that there weren't. I'm a control freak. That's a part of my program. I love control in my own little universe. And man, has that been blown up over these past few years. So yeah, this is a whole nother podcast that I could spend hours talking
that's
about.
how I used to view spirituality and religion. Like I felt in control. I felt safe knowing black and white, knowing all the answers.
Right. Or thinking I know
all the answers.
Yeah.
Or no, I knew all the answers. Well, I didn't think I knew.
Right. Well, and let me just say, so tough. This is not easy. This is not easy stuff to talk about. This is why we want to do this podcast. It's beautiful. It's messy. It's very difficult to walk through, but let me say how much freer I feel on a daily basis to have worked through and continuing to work through that control piece. I could not feel more freer or have more of a solidified, genuine relationship with my higher power. I've been a Christian my whole life, and really that has so very much changed over this whole journey, which is so wonderful, life-giving. There's been so much grief. There's been so much sadness, all the feels, all the things, and it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah. And the beauty is the more you let go of control, the more you let go of feeling like you have all the answers, the actual closer you get to a relationship with God and, and your higher power.
Being able just to say, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that question. That's a great question.
God needs you to show me.
Instead of feeling like, I've got to come up with some answer because I got to look a certain way. I got to be socially accepted. I got to fit in this way. Like I just don't know.
Yep.
It's really cool.
Yeah. So
this is fun. This has been really fun.
This has been fun.
I hope that this has been fun for those of you, friends and family.
Those of you who are still listening.
who are still listening.
I hope family doesn't listen to this. I'm just kidding.
That is so rude.
I'm just kidding.
Why? I think it's really great.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being willing to join us in this journey and being willing to follow us down the,
right. How we were all over the map today.
Right.
But just little tastes, little nuggets here and there on what's to come.
Yeah.
So we will see. First of all, love you all.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Deeply. We're so glad that you're listening and that you are alive.
We're so thankful that because of you guys, we're even able to do this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like because of your support and you watching our music and buying our music and streaming our music.
Right.
That's, we wouldn't be able to do this. And so
caring even about us and caring about
and also going forward, like I'm going to send links and whatnot on these videos where you can ask us questions, where you can send in audio questions of your voice, and we'll play it here and we'll answer them. We'll have little segments where we answer a couple questions an episode or whatnot.
That is like intimacy to me. Give me some questions. Let's get to know one another.
Try to make it as tough as possible.
Yes, I'm so ready. I love tough questions.
Yeah. So anyways, love you all. Thank you for being here.
Love you all.
This was the Finding Us.
Thank you for listening.
Finding Us, the podcast with Chad and Fallon. Have a good day.
Have a great day.
See y'all next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.